extraordinary young men who came here and made a great success. And recently, I think we should give them a big hand. The finalists, determined by the fashion group members, an industry panel also, Roberto, Faraone Menella, and Amadeo Scognamiglio of Faraone Menella, picked up the award for fine jewelry and the accessories award, and that was for them. And you know, today fashion has become a great, the great influence of fashion is accessorizing. And fine jewelry is a really, really, you wear brooches, jewelry is an important part of the look of fashion. And bags and shoes and gloves, it makes the outfit. There was a period when it wasn't important, but this is it. And that's why I think I want Roberto and Amadeo to come up here and tell you a little about what they do. A lot about what they do and what's important for you. Yes? Are you ready? They're going to show a video, and then we should give them a big hand for their award. Bravi, bravi. Bravi Italiani, bravi.
She's the best.
No, you are. You are.
Well, thank you for having us here tonight, because it's an honor to be in front of you. And probably if we can share our experience it's a kind of like a shorter experience, but quite successful for when we started and what we did. In 4 years we managed to launch a line, and now it's distributed in 25 Nieman-Marcus, in Saks Fifth Avenue, in Bergdorf Goodman. We designed a collection, a fine jewelry collection for Carolina Herrera for her runway and her boutiques. And it all started 4 years ago, in the probably best way. It started from Sex and the City. We just decided to create a collection, and obviously we didn't have money. As foreigners, probably some of you can relate to that. We didn't have credit history in this country, so we couldn't get loans, we couldn't get credit cards, so it was even more difficult. So with the few pieces that we managed to put together, we started to show it around, and in a matter of a week, we were very lucky to show it to Patricia Field of Sex and the City. And Patricia fell in love with it because she's a true, original visionaire in fashion, and started to use all the pieces for the show. And we were very happy. We were hanging out on the set, although we didn't have jewelry to show to buyers, to the potential buyers. So for the next probably 6 months, we were just, working with them on the set, but we were not making any money out of it. But that was the lucky experience, because thanks to that, we didn't have to knock on anybody's door, but they started to come to us. The word spread, and the first phone call we got was from the Nieman-Marcus, the fashion director of accessories. And she, called us in, and she wanted to see this jewelry that these two Italian guys were doing for Sex and the City. And it was very interesting also there, and a lesson, because we went to this meeting, she looked at the jewelry and she said, it's nice, a little bit too European. So we didn't know if it was a compliment or not. Obviously it was not something very, good news. She said, I'll think about it. And a few weeks later, she called us and said, all the buyers are here, why don't you come and show the jewelry? We did that a few weeks later, and basically we were in business, because fortunately enough, they bought the collection for 3 Nieman-Marcus, Beverly Hills, Chicago, and Dallas, and they seriously put us in business. So now, actually 3 years later, we are in a beautiful showroom on 57th Street and Fifth Avenue. We have the best possible clients that we could work with. We're expanding internationally in the key markets like Hong Kong and Russia and Dubai and Japan. So sometimes we talk about it, and we have to summarize why all these happened. And we agree that probably the very few reasons, and the core reasons are that we never, never compromised. Even when they told us that the line was too European, or that the chandelier earrings were in and not our hoop earrings, or short necklaces and not long chain were in, we kept doing what we liked, and we just kept working towards to objectives that we really wanted to reach. We knew one thing. We knew that we wanted this collection to be sold at Bergdorf Goodman and Nieman-Marcus. It was kind of a dream, of course, because it's like, the best in the world, and it is the best in the world. And obviously, some others would say, why don't you start, from another store, and then you climb up. And we always thought that if you kind of like shoot high, then chances are you're going to get some results. And sometimes it's easier to try for the best and then maybe, work it a little, downsize from then, starting from the ground and then, walking up, because it's even more difficult. But the most important thing is that you really have to have a target. You really need to know what you're doing, whether you're designing fashion, you're designing jewelry, or you're just like being, a business manager. You really know where you're going, where you want to go, because every day you will have a different feedback from different people, and people will tell you that they don't like what you're doing, or they don't think it's right, or they just like would love to see that in another way. And if you start listening to all of them, you will end up not doing anything. I mean, just being disappointment over and over. And we have been disappointed over many, many times. Editors who did not really like the jewelry, or buyers who, didn't think it was appropriate. But we kept, straight and to where we wanted to go.
No,
The blonde,
perfect.
and now it's going to talk.
Perfect. No, I think at this point, you need to see a little bit what the product is about. So if we can start watching the video, I don't know. Mark? Mark, can we see the video? I don't know if Mark is there. Okay, perfect. Well, we started together. We didn't really
Peace of the soul, your love's divine.
Okay, so this is a little bit overview, so you have a little bit of idea of the product. Amadeo mentioned about the way we started. I just wanted to add a few things. The difference we made, if we did make a difference in this industry, was starting a line in 18 karat gold that was a fashion line. We started when everything was basically silver or 9 karat, but mostly silver. It was the time that, you know, it's still the time the big Jurman and product like this. And we introduced a line was 18 karat, which is the only way we work in Europe, mostly, you know, 18. And this was a big thing, was a new thing, because people was wondering why a lady would invest in a fashion line that is still precious, because 18 karat gold fall into the precious fine jewelry category. We truly believe in it, and as Amadeo said, we went forward with this line. And later on, we did something that actually is pretty new in the industry. From a fashion line that goes from $500 to $6,000, which is about the hoops and the chain, but there is more. We introduced last year, actually 1.5 years ago, a couture line that goes from $20,000 to $150,000, and it's been incredibly accepted by the industry, and it's carried also in Bergdorf Goodman, where we are the only designer. We are in both departments, precious jewelry next to the, you know, the really expensive, incredible jewelry, to the fashion department. And this was a really tough move to do, because usually when you start with a product on a certain level, doing the next step up is always a little bit difficult. And then Amadeo, like vaguely, talk about the new experience we are actually doing right now, is working with a major designer like Carolina Herrera, which was an amazing, incredible experience, because we happened to work directly with a fashion designer, with their vision about what is design and what is clothes. And so we started this line, which is from like $15,000 to $80,000, that is made for each gown, each piece that they make. So before the collection is out on the runway, we go over the sketches, we try to figure out what can look great on a certain gown. The gown is already around like 30,000, so we have to make a piece that has the same importance of the gown. And this has been really challenging and difficult, because every time you come up with a new concept, a new color, and you have to do something that is not only you and represent what is Faraone Menella for us today, but also something that represents the vision of the designer, in this case, Carolina Herrera. What I think is really important today, and Professor Pavasian mentioned today, is that accessories becoming more and more important. It's easier to see ladies shopping for a new pair of earrings, a new handbag, a new pair of shoes, and less in a new coat, because you can really change your look of the season by just accessorizing in a different way, in a new way. And that's the reason why, if you look through reports, financial reports of the big company in the industry, what they're really making a lot of money is through accessory. Either it's handbag or it's shoes, look at Gucci, look at Louis Vuitton. Everybody's doing accessory, because it's really what is driving the industry today. And that's the reason why we are launching for the fall a line of handbags, but it's going to be just evening bag, bejeweled, something that you can actually take the piece out and wear it as a jewelry piece. And that's going to be the new big challenge for us.
No, but probably you'd be mostly interested to know the dynamics of creating a company in fashion world, whether it's accessories or clothing, because that's the most challenging. You can be very talented, and I'm sure you all are, but then you start clashing with the difficulties of the product development, placing it in stores, and dealing with business people. So sometimes it's very hard to express your your talent through your product, but to business, the business world, which is sometimes very cruel because numbers talk. So that's why it was very difficult for us at the beginning to understand, especially what we learned to be corporate America. You have to, you're in a great position actually, most of you here, because learning merchandising, it helps you understand how, a line is created and is supported by stores and then sold in stores and at retail. Because sometimes if you don't have that understanding, I mean, not even the knowledge, but the understanding to help your buyers in doing their job and support your brand, it becomes very difficult to succeed. There's plenty of designers every year coming up and even getting a discrete media exposure, because sometimes editors are more adventurous and supportive than buyers and in retail, and that's because they don't really have to show results, but buyers or retailers really have to come with a profit at the end of the season. So it's very important that to realize that and to help them put together the numbers and understanding really the collections in terms of value to be put out in the stores, and tracking down what's selling, what's not, and what is really successful and why. Because sometimes accessories, fashion, jewelry, you can be the most talented, but we're still selling a product. I mean, we're not doing it for, it's not just pure art, not meant to be sold. So we really need to focus on who the client is, and what the needs of the clients are, and that is really an important strategic part of the business, because at the beginning, it's honeymoon, and you do beautiful jewelry, you do beautiful bags, beautiful shoes, and everybody's gonna rave about it on the magazines. But then, after 6 months, 1 year, if they're still sitting on a shelf or on a rack, then it will become a problem, and the friends of the time of the year before will become your enemies, because they're not making money and they will hate you. So it's very important always to keep a focus on who your client is. So if you're designing clothes, you really need to keep a focus on who you want to dress and why that person likes your dresses, and be consistent in that. We try every day to do that. We try to keep a consistency in our designs, although we need to develop, we need to come up with twice a year with new collections, spring, summer, and fall, every year different. But you need to keep a small thread, not because just for in the integrity of your own designs, but also because you have to understand that the person who bought your, that piece the year before is the same person. So she will buy another one the second year or the next season, but it's still the person with that style. If you change totally and dramatically and inconsistently, then you betray your ultimate client, and it's going to reflect on your business. That's why I say that it's very difficult at one point, and we are in that stage. I mean, after 4 years, we are a success story in that sense, but we are also in a very critical situation, because it's from a small design company, we're making a bigger luxury brand, and we have to deal with this, the growth problems, hiring the right people, having the right support in every level, every aspect of the business, from the bookkeeping to the PR, and each part it's very important and fundamental for the business. In instance, public relations is very important. I mean, sometimes it sounds like cheesy, but the support of a magazine, of magazines, of TV, whatever it could be, it's dramatic. At least we experienced in our business that if something it's in a magazine, it sells. Then it's highlighted by a magazine. Some magazines are more fit, a better fit for clothes. Some other better fit for jewelry, depending on the audience. But it's important. I mean, you gotta really kill yourself to be in those magazines, to have your product being featured in the magazines, because otherwise it's not out there. I mean, it can be the most beautiful, but you have to show it, and that's how people want to buy things, off the covers of magazines or feature stories.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just want to add, that's the way actually we started by Sex and the City. That was like the media big thing of the time. And it was funny because when we started, we didn't even know what Sex and the City was. I didn't have a cable, and everybody was raving about it. And then we realized, And I realized later what was Sex and the City, and now everybody's like, oh my God, you were hanging out on the set. And for us it was like, oh, probably this is a B-series something. I mean, we didn't know what it was. So what I was saying is that, picking what Amadeo said, is that magazine is very important. When you start a line, the first thing that a buyer would see, if you go there, you can have the most beautiful product, but if you start approaching the press before even starting approaching the buyer, would be even better, because if you go there with a couple of magazines, can be Bazaar, Vogue is tough to get, but let's say Bazaar, W, Town and Country, whatever you can get, and prepare a little like press kit, they get excited because they're going to think, oh my God, this is the new thing, the magazine already looking at. That, of course, as Amadeo said, later on, after 3 months, if the stuff is not moving on the shelf, they're just going to let you go. And I mean, that's our experience. We started with a lot of young designers 4 years ago that we don't even remember the name, but we were on the same level, starting in the same best store. And of course, after the numbers is going to make the difference. It's going to decide who is going to stay or not. But definitely press is really important today. We are in a celebrity or driven country and society, so whatever is on a celebrity, on a top model, is really what people is going to look at and is going to start buying. So I would definitely, as a suggestion, if you're going to start any kind of business, to approach the price somehow, if you can do it.
Yeah, actually, in fact, the first person we hired on staff in the company was somebody just focused on the press, because even when it was only the two of us, we were handling the press in a very good way, but there was already a lot of editors to talk to on a monthly basis. They shoot every month, and then there is an infinite number of freelance stylists to work for all the magazines and different magazines and different shoots in the same issue. So there is a lot to work with. And if you start working in that kind of environment, you'll meet, hundreds of those. So you really have to, if you want to, you have to cultivate that, because that's going to grow the business, and that's going to make a business, big or small, visible. I mean, to the point that during our second year of business, we had so much press in major magazines like W Magazine, Town and Country, Departures, in the big ones, and usually our pieces and our name next to brands like Cartier, Bulgari, Harry Winston, Van Cleef. And so at one point we had a visit and an appointment by the president of Cartier 2 years ago, who just made an appointment to come and meet us, because he said, I don't know why you get so much press and you are not advertisers in these magazines, and I wanted to know what's behind this name. Obviously, he thought we were just the reps of the company, and they wanted to meet the president. After 5 minutes of the meeting, we told him that there was no president. But that was in front of him. but that, that made us realize how not only important is the press, but how the perception of the brand was bigger in the industry that we even thought. You're always there doing your job, and you don't know what effect it does on the public, on the readers, and except on the sales in stores. But that's very, very important. So the first person that we hired was a PR director whose job was only to keep track of all the editors, calling them every day, being nice to all of them, and just checking in and saying, what are you shooting this month? Do you have anything going on? Do you need anything? So, I mean, if you do that, that's the best thing editors want. They are, shooting stories, and if somebody calls and say, hey, do you need a diamond earring or a long necklace or a cuff bracelet, it makes their job easier than going around and scout. Still today, that it's a very important part of our business. So we keep doing it with the most effort. Now we work with a lot of movies. There's a stylist who do the costume designers, and it's important to do that. And if you're nice and and available, they love to come back and borrow pieces and for videos, music videos, red carpet, or movies. We did recently. We worked with always with Patricia Field on The Devil Wears Prada, the movie, and so we did jewelry for Meryl Streep. And now we're doing another movie with Halle Berry and Heidi Klum, actually. That's coming out in this fall, and it's fun. It's not the same, impact or value of editorial that can be like a picture on Vogue or on a model on a cover of W, but it's very important because it's exposure, and it keeps your name gravitating in the same good environment that you need to be in. Any questions?
Yes.
Professor Papazian.
Oh, right.
And one of the students said, how much is that? He said, $40,000.
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, you mean you're leaving it loose around here, $40,000 chain? I think we should talk about
Yeah, well, in jewelry, it's very easy to. No, it's not. It's fine jewelry. That was what Roberto tried to explain at the beginning, that we make fine jewelry with diamonds and 18-karat gold, with precious stones. But the difference is that we have a fashion approach to it. So every collection is, whether we use, precious stones and diamonds, we try to come up with the designs that are fashionable in that moment. Meaning that if the color is, white, like this spring, everything is about whites. So we have our collections out in stores, it's all going to be whites, white opals, of course diamond, white jades. So you have to really go with the flow, because our client is a fashion-oriented lady who goes into Bergdorf's and buys the new shoes and the new blouse and on top of the season, and she's going to want to accessorize that with jewelry that's in fashion right now and coordinates with the rest of the wardrobe. Talking about value, it's interesting. So what we do for Carolina Herrera, it's very it's a good example. It's extremely fashionable. We sit down a couple of times a year with Mrs. Herrera, who's a very chic lady, and we discuss she tells us what she will be doing. She comes with her design team, and they show us pieces of fabrics that they will use for the next shows, so for the next season, and so they give us an idea of the color palette that they will use. So from that we start showing them some stones that we think they could match those colors, because not necessarily they would. And then we start designing, the piece of jewelry. Sometimes with her, because she's also very iconic and very elegant. She's our type of client, but also depends on the type of clothes. So in instance, last fall, and it's still going for the spring, we created all these big brooches, which are not necessarily something easy to sell in jewelry because they're very big, very expensive. They're all $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, but they fit perfectly on these gowns that she designs, and they became kind of like her signature piece of jewelry for her clothes. They've been featured in every magazines, and her clients up on Madison Avenue at the boutique, they collect them. I mean, they're all like rich and famous people. So it's always about what's going on in fashion, and we try to follow with the jewelry because it cannot be disconnected. It used to be. Jewelry and fashion used to be two totally worlds apart. There was the good jewelry, in my grandmother's time, and even my mother's time. There was the beautiful pearl necklace and the engagement ring and the diamond studs, and maybe bought with the husband for the special occasion. Now, women, first of all, purchase more by themselves. They have more spending power, and jewelry fine jewelry has finally become a precious accessory. So they want to buy. There has to be in vogue, and then it has to be precious. And they want to change it every season. So it is very important, and we're very happy about that because it's like elevate the sense of the jewelry. Any questions?
Please.
Yes. Excuse me? The fashion designers? Good question.
Well, we did work, before we started this adventure with Carolina Herrera, we did work with, Roberto Cavalli. I don't know if somebody's familiar, Italian designer. We did a show with them. And then we did also do, we designed a collection for Swarovski. There was a project that we're doing using like a real designer designing jewelry with their product and crystals. And then we did a couple of shows also in Bryant Park. And then when we started Carolina Herrera, which is a collection separate from ours, the one for Carolina is called Faraone Menella for Carolina Herrera. And they carry also like Manolo Blahnik for Carolina Herrera, so it's not sold anywhere else. So technically, we could do something for somebody else, but we are starting with Nina Ricci, French-based designer for next fall, designing for them. And this fit really more our product because we are talking about fine jewelry, really expensive piece. So for the runway, usually the designer tends to just show the clothes and they don't have anything unless they have really like costumey thing, and we don't want to do that. So, but no, we are open. It's if the designer and the collection is interesting and there is a match in terms of ideas and vision, definitely would be great. Yeah. But for now, I mean, Carolina is just incredible, the result we're having, and it fits very much like the client we have for our couture line, which is not the one for the fashion line, which is the one I told you before, that is a lower price for $500 to $6,000, which is more fashion, it's more young, it's more hip. But for now, Nina Ricci, that's going to be the next.
I mean, not that we always say yes. I mean, it's flattering, but it has to make sense with what we do and with our concept of luxury and our design philosophy. In instance, we worked a lot with, video, with music videos, with some singers. And one of those, after, we were working with her stylist and with her, and after, we spent an entire night in her bungalow at the Beverly Hills Hotel, working on this new jewelry collection. It was her comeback, it was big. And after 2 days, she called and she said she wanted just a big diamond butterfly on our, on her gown. So we said we don't do butterflies, and we called it quit. She did use a butterfly in the video. And yeah, so, sometimes you have to have some integrity. Please.
Yes, do any designers that you design for have a say in who else you design for?
Excuse me?
I'm sorry?
Do any designers that you design for have a say in who else you design for? Is there any kind of
No, we're very strong about it. We are very strong about it. That's why also when we designed for Carolina Herrera, we kept it and we wanted strongly to be Faraone Menella for Carolina Herrera and not just Carolina Herrera. We're just not interested to work for them. I mean, it has to be a conjunction of ideas more than just working for somebody. Please.
How were you able to get in touch with Sex and the City costume director?
Okay, I tell you. That's a
very
cute
good.
that's a cute story. Okay, when we started as Amadeo, I don't know if Amadeo mentioned, we started investing $5,000 each, and this was the budget. Was a month before September 11, and we said if we can make it with that, that's fine. If we run out of money, we just close and we pack and we go back to Italy. So after investing this money, we made like few prototype, and we were not selling anywhere, and we needed a space for a showroom, and we found this cute space, and we were wondering at the time, thinking it's like so funny. The rent was $1,500, and for us was, oh my God, that's too expensive. 13, we will never afford it, and I mean, I'm not going to say what we pay now for rent, but anyway, so it was amazing, and we said, oh, but it's still too much. So I said, Amadeo, let's walk down the street and let's go to check it out, this place tonight. And if we have some kind of sign from the sky that says, well, that's the place, we do the crazy thing and we rent it. If not, it means we cannot afford it. So we walk in the street and we saw the place. We said, well, it's amazing, but it's too expensive. We come back. Already we were like, we are not going to take it. And we see this huge trailer, white. And this crazy woman with pink hair come out. And she's cowboy hat. And she says, hey, cutie, what are you doing here? And we are like, and I mean, she didn't know who we were, nothing. And she said, oh, we have 6 hours to wait because we are shooting. And they were shooting in a church on Park Avenue. I don't remember which wedding was of the Sex and the City show. And so she said, come in. So we came in and we spent like 6 hours like hanging out with them. And she didn't ask what we were doing. She probably just picked us up. And so we were there, and at one point she said, so what do you do? I said, well, we design jewelry. I mean, we started. I said, where is it? And I looked down and I saw this big bag, Van Cleef, Cartier, Bulgari. And I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. That's embarrassing. And she said, okay, take it. I want to see it. So I ran home because we didn't have a place. We didn't have a showroom. I ran home. I took this bag with this few samples. I brought it back. She saw it. She called Kim Cattrall and Sarah Jessica. And she said, try it on. They tried it on. They love it. And so we ended up designing for 2 years. The last 2 seasons, we designed for Kim and Jessica. Actually, Sarah Jessica was wearing the cameo from Amadeo. You probably saw when she's hired at Vogue, she's wearing this big cameo, and that's the trend. And anyway, so this was the way we met her. And then since then, we became friends, and she's the kind of person, and a lot of stylists are like that, just as a future reference for you if you're going to go into business. They don't want people to push them. They want to feel like they're discovering you. If you start to bribe them, and they will hate you. They just do it because they feel like they're discovering somebody because you're young, you have so much enthusiasm. But sometimes there are these big companies that give them present and call them up so many times, and then they hate you. In fact, we have this philosophy, and that's the reason why we don't do any kind of trade show for our business. We don't look for anybody. We don't look for editor. We don't look for stores to sell to. They just have to come up to us. They have to find us through the magazine. They take the phone. They call us. And when they do that, it means they're so ready to have us and they understand the product. Which at the beginning, there were people saying, you're losing a lot of business. You could sell to many stores, and except you just limited yourself to Neiman, Saks, Bergdorf, and few really high couture stores. But this, at the end, paid off because 3 years later, it made the line very exclusive and very strong, and we were able to negotiate huge contract with Japanese, Hong Kong, and Russian department store that just carry like Balenciaga, YSL, and we were able to say, you know, we want the boutique, we just don't want a case. And this was because we were so strict not to sell out and not to sell to anybody, or everybody, at least. We should be at least 20, but we are not. We are
People at the showroom
10 people at the showroom,
and manufacturing.
and then we have the manufacturer, the factory, which is back in Italy, in Florence. And then we have something that is actually our big strength. We took another floor on this showroom on Fifth Avenue. We have 2 floors. One is just press, PR, and some offices, but looks like an atelier from the 1950s, really elegant. If you go to a website later, you can check. And then the second floor is just manufacture. And so we do all one-of-a-kind piece, all Carolina piece and couture piece in-house in New York on Fifth Avenue, which is great because you can be on the product, you can see how the product develops, and is a great thing, instead of having somebody producing somewhere in another part of the world. So.
I have a question.
Please.
What's the difference between American jewelry and European jewelry, and which sells better in general?
Very good question.
Yeah, you answered that.
No, it's a very good question because we also asked ourselves many times. European jewelry is more traditional. I would say until now, probably it's perceived as something more precious. I mean, it's made to be more precious. There's no such a thing as fashion jewelry. While, I mean, in Italy, you either have the costume jewelry, very inexpensive, or the very fine jewelry. In America, it's much more popular. It's been popular for the last at least 20 years. The so-called designer jewelry, which is a fashion, forward jewelry, but in silver or gold, silver and gold. So it's like in the middle of it, but much more fashionable. So we always say that, incredibly enough, although from Italy, and France comes a lot of fashion from the last few decades. In jewelry, America has been, the most forward in the sense of creating collections. In Europe, jewelry companies really don't create collections to sell season by season, to develop season by season, but they create beautiful pieces, beautiful jewelry. Pieces have to not coordinated to each other. While in America, there is the concept of fashion. Also because the distribution chain is different. Now here you have department stores, large chains, so they want a set visually collection that of earrings, rings, and bracelets and necklaces, and they all have to make sense, and then evolve. And in Europe, we really don't have. What Europe has probably, it's a little more traditional. In terms of manufacturing, better quality of manufacturing, but again, with making more and more fashionable jewelry, you really need to have a better approach rather than more skill in making it. Thank you. It's a very good question.
Are all pieces still designed exclusively by the two of you, or you have a separate design team?
No, that's the only thing we won't ever do it. No, yeah, that's actually the only fun part. Everything else is an attic, and so it's. It's funny because designing it's such probably an easy job. We do it sometimes on the plane, going back and forth from Europe. Mostly when your mind is free from other thoughts and preoccupations. But it's most important to have a very good help in a company. The strength is in the team. So sales team, public relations, manufacturing, shipping. That's the strength. And the design is still something that we can handle.
It keeps your image.
Yeah, Yes, absolutely. It's to be consistent, always over and over, because we're very critical. And also, sometimes they ask us, who does what, who actually makes the, do you design, the other one makes the, the business decisions, or if you both design, who makes what. It's very interesting. Obviously, now that the company is growing, the brand is growing, each one of us come with some ideas and, develops them, and then consult with the other. But one thing that we have is that we totally have the same vision of what we want, and every time one of us comes up with a new idea, a new design, and it's beautiful, but it doesn't really fit our image, the other says, yeah, but it's not us. And then, the other one realizes it and like, yeah, you're right. Shred. Oh, please.
Well, the collection, when the store purchases the new collection, usually they keep the basic, which is the one is really like stunning really easily and fit with everything. It depends. It can be 30 pieces for a new collection. For Carolina, it's completely new, so it's more than that because it has completely to change. And for our couture collection, is one of a kind, so as to change completely. Let's say that for the fashion line, we introduce like 20, 35 pieces every collection, keeping the old one always in place, and or at least the one that are like really a signature piece, the classic. And about that, I wanted to add something. The beautiful thing about having your own company, creating your own line, is that it's like having a baby. You are creating yourself the DNA for your company. By DNA, I mean, it's like the signature style that can be like a round shape, twisted, organic. That's one of DNA. But then with the years, you have to add more DNA. For instance, when somebody goes to work at Gucci, whoever is, it was Tom Ford, now there is Fakinet, whatever, a change. They pick on the DNA of the company, which was, like the shoe of the 70s, or that famous bag from 1972 or something. And those little elements that can be like the closure of the bag or the heel, those are the DNA of a company that you right away see and say, oh, that's Gucci, oh, that's whatever. So what they do today, that's why all the designers that work for all big houses, they can be Paco Rabanne, they can be Gucci, they can be anything. They go in the archive looking for elements that really remind right away what was the luxury, the glamour of that company. It's very rare if you see around, they come up really with new things they can add to the DNA of the company. So with a new company, what you have to do with a new brand is building up a DNA that is made probably on 5 major, like recognizable elements. And that's the challenge, but in a way the beautiful thing, because you are creating those DNA yourself. And then later on, 20 years from now, you can mix it together. You can come taking out back from the past, and people will recognize that is yours. So, yeah, that's...
Roberto, do you have the start of a DNA for your company?
Yeah, yeah, it's a baby. We do have a couple of key elements that are very recognizable, and it's about this twisted, uneven, round shape that if you see it, you right away know it's us. And that's the reason we were so flattered. Last January, we got this big story on Town & Country. Was about simplicity in design. And we were the only one together with Elsa Peretti about this polished look that is really difficult to do sometimes, and sometimes we wonder, maybe we should do intricate, kind of girly, and with a lot of flower thing, because you can play a lot with that. Sometimes it's really difficult to make something like completely round and simple new, that is not going to be already done. So it's very stressful to, when you do something, this kind of look, to make it new. But yeah, we have a couple of elements that definitely are our new DNA, but we have to come up with many more. I mean, every year you have to come up with one at least that is new, and that's a big challenge.
Oh, yes. Probably The original inspiration was probably our grandmothers. I mean, and we always thought of the jewelry they wore, and now we keep thinking of the jewelry they would wear. So now we say she, you know, like would she wear this, would not she wear this, and it's always important. They are still the inspiration, but the inspiration technically is really our background from Italy. You know, the summer spent in Capri, which is a very chic island in Italy, and you see these ladies truly chic, and you know, all the Italian movies from the 60s. It's a whole idea, it's a whole concept of luxury, but we're always very, very strong and firm to keep that identity, because is it very true that in New York we started, and New York gave us the possibility to achieve many things, business-wise and also design-wise, but it's always the result of a background, you know, which is our Italian background. So we always, every time we make a new piece, we think, would she wear it, would not she wear it, how would she wear it, with what, and that's very important. That has to be the constant focus when you do something, because otherwise the possibilities are immense, and there's, you know, there's an audience for every piece of jewelry that you can make design. If it's clean, or if it's more intricate, or it's more, you know, luxurious, but you have to stay true to yourself. Yes.
Did you work for another company before you decided to start your own, or did you just kind of go out on your own?
No, we decided to directly to go on our own. I think Roberto.
Well, I had a
Yeah.
short experience with Dior, accessory jewelry, and very short. I mean, I was like almost like 8 months, a year, and I mean, I couldn't see myself working in a corporate American environment, and I wanted to decide everything, and I'm a kind of a free control, so I wanted to decide the packaging. I didn't like the jewelry, I didn't like this, and of course you can in a big company like that. Everything was coming from Paris, every direction to take. So at that point, I said, you know, either I do something by myself, or I go back to Italy and I'm going to be a lawyer. And so so we started this new adventure. And
But I also want to stress, because I did not work for any other company, you know, it's very important for you probably to have that experience. Working for we made a lot of mistakes, and we learned from our mistakes, but, you know, if you can avoid them, it's, you know, it's better. So, you know, if you can take internships and during the summer, and definitely working for big companies, but at least in the field that you're interested in, you just will be naturally exposed to things that, you know, happen every day in a company, and you will learn a lot, very much from the company, just to hanging around in those companies. And so the moment you will feel that you're ready to go on your own, if you ever want to, I mean, it doesn't really mean that you have to, but if you want to be on your own, having that experience will save you from making mistakes, and will definitely, you know, that experience will come up. I mean, you'll know that you have to talk in a way to some people, you know how to show things to a buyer or an editor. I mean, you can even, you know, we didn't know that there was such a thing as a VP of buying, there was above the buyer. I mean, so you know the structure, and those are all pieces of information that are very, very valuable, and you don't learn if not on the field.
yeah.
So.
I mean, on the first meeting we had with Nieman-Marcus, we had like the CEO of the company, and we thought she was like some assistant buyers, and we had this thing, and we set her like far away from everybody. We were not even talking. I mean, the experience in company is really important. I mean, you should try
Yeah,
it.
actually, the question was, and who is that tall woman? And then they said, she's the president of the Nieman-Marcus. So.
So any other question? Yeah. Oh.
What got you interested in this field, and
Why we were interested? Why we were interested? Oh, Yeah, actually, in my background, my family has been in the industry for many years, 6 generations. Not in a part of jewelry, the cameo manufacturing in coral. So, I was exposed to that. But then, living in New York, I wanted to do something different, something totally different from my family business. Just have a little break from daddy. And and so when Roberto and I decided to make a company together, and so it was natural to go in the jewelry business. Our background was totally different. We went to law school together, first high school and then law school. But that's because mostly in Italy, there's not so many choices. You have more institutional education paths, like law school and medical school and engineer and business school. So it's just like a base that you use, and then you do whatever you want. And then you choose a company. But it was good also that to have a mindset, a different mindset to run a business. But it is really every business, either jewelry or fashion. If you can have an education, or the more education you can get is much better, because it's all information that sooner or later will come up available and easy for you. And then the rest is your taste and your eye.
Well, when I finished law school, I came here and I wanted to study architecture. I applied to Pratt, and then I thought I was too old and it would take too much time. So I applied to Parsons, and I graduated in design marketing, but I took a lot of classes at FIT because I was trying to be fast and finish as soon as possible. And FIT, these amazing classes that I took in the summer all the time. So I went to study like design marketing. So this was my education.
So actually, I haven't. So that tells you, Roberto, is the proof that when did you graduate from Parsons? 2001. Yeah, so and 5 years later he's here. And actually, if Roberto hadn't been to Parsons, I didn't know what a press kit was, or how to prepare a press kit, or how to put it in. In Italy we don't have that. So it's a very good thing. And look what is done after just 5 years of graduating.
Any other question? Yeah. I'm sorry?
Oh, what we mean is that it's to create, to start your when you start your company, you have your collection, right? You have products to show. Probably based on our experience, and that's what we wanted, and we successfully did, was not approaching buyers, companies, stores, jewelry stores, department stores at the beginning just with the product, because otherwise we would have just shown a necklace, beautiful for us and maybe not beautiful for them. But we approached magazines, so they started to feature our jewelry in many magazines. So once we had a little bit of a press kit, thanks also of course to Sex and the City, we had an easier access to editors. With WWD, it's any press is good. Then buyers take you in a different consideration. Look at your product with different eyes, because they see that not only you make a beautiful product, but you know how to sell it, and you're going to help them selling it. Because if you work with that mindset, and you're going to put your product in magazines, it's going to be easier for stores to sell it, and that's very, very important. And it's very easy. Just pick up the phone, call the editor. If the fashion editor, the accessory editor of a magazine, they will take calls. They take calls of especially new young designers. They're always eager to see new things and young designers. Look at Zach Bosen or other designers like that. It's easy.
Yeah, and I just want to add, and the reason is basically more than everything, because They can have this amazing product, you're going to show it to them, but they have usually at the beginning of every season a little budget, a little thing that is for new thing that have to add to the store because they have to show that the store, like whatever Nieman-Marcus or Barney's, they are trend setting. So they have this little budget for introducing new collection, and so they will see your product, but if you have a backup of press, it's more like impressive. If not, they're going to say, okay, nice, but I mean, they're not going to really care about it. As a suggestion, I would do that. I mean, it worked with us, doesn't mean it can work all the time, but I think it's good to do it.
It gives you credibility.
Yes.
Did you lose like a lot of pieces when you were first working with celebrities?
Oh, I have to say, there are certain magazines, for instance, they're really kind of difficult sometimes. They send you back like Cartier watches, and you're like calling, I don't do watches, and so, and sometimes they lose stuff. But no, actually, the majority are pretty like good. And with celebrity, we were lucky enough that the one that wore the jewelry returned it. Sometimes they might be scratched, especially when they do a fashion shoot for like Vogue or Bazaar. You know, the model take it and just throw it on the floor. So it come back a little bit, you know, like banged and ruined. But I mean, it's part of the deal. That's why you need to have a sample collection that is there and is all scratched, and on the picture it's not going to show, and you know, it's part of the game. But no, I have to say, celebrity, actually we had few celebrities that purchase our stuff. The last, what was the?
Maurice Carter.
No, the one in the music thing.
Oh, Kanye West.
Yeah, well, no, what is the show called? What
Which
is
show?
della musica, come si chiama?
The Grammys.
Okay, the Grammy, I don't know. Anyway, we were watching the Grammy, and we saw two, like, one singer and one, I don't know, somebody else wearing our jewelry, and we didn't give it to them.
Kanye's West girlfriend.
Okay.
Brooke.
So we didn't know who she was, and well, probably she bought it somewhere. So, yeah. Yeah, but celebrity, you have to be careful. I mean, we were approached one by Sharon Stone that actually is going to wear our stuff in Bazaar this month, coming month, to go to the Cannes Festival. And the stylist came and said she wants the necklace. She's going to wear it at the big event. She's going to host the big AIDS thing that she does. And we said, oh, great. And we knew she wasn't going to rent it or pay for it. And then we said, oh, can you let us know when it's going to be so we can either tape it or like when can we expect it back? And they said, well, we cannot guarantee she's going to wear it, but definitely she's not going to return it. So we said, you know what, we're going to pass
She's
on it.
definitely not getting it.
Yeah. So we didn't give it to them. So. Yes. No.
No,
we're
this
fine.
was it. No, that's boring. Yeah. No PowerPoint.
One last question.
Love to keep you here all night. One last group question. Let's hear it. Up there. Stand up.
You mentioned that you started with fashion when you moved up to couture lines. Do you ever feel pressure, especially in today's consumer culture, to go down?
Every day.
Every day.
Especially when, like a QVC comes or Federal Department Store and they say, do you want to do a line in silver for, $80 average retail price and we'll make $20 million a year business? So you have one moment thinking, oh, that penthouse on, but then, it's much easier to go down, to go lower than up. So until we can make more and more luxury, we will. Then we'll think about it later. But I don't think it will ever happen. It's too soon.
Well, it's that, I love the Italian gift of creativity.
Grazie, Alice. Grazie a voi. Thank you, good luck.
Thank you.